Hi everyone, welcome to Java Techie. So far we understand what is reactive programming and its specification with example, right? But if you remember in our first reactive introduction video, we discussed a term called asynchronous and non-blocking. If you can remember this slide, as part of core feature of reactive programming, we already discussed this term called asynchronous and non-blocking. What it means. Let's understand this term in action. If you understand this example, which you are going to develop in this tutorial, you will get your answer that why we need reactive programming. Okay, so let's get started. Let's go to the main folder and let's create a couple of packages. Basically, we are going to expose one REST endpoint who will return us thousands of records. Then we'll try to understand how it works in reactive programming approach and our normal traditional REST approach. Okay. Then I can differentiate asynchronous and non-blocking, synchronous and blocking approach. So let's go to the main folder. Let me create a couple of packages. Let's say I will create a package called DTO. Then we'll create a package called service. We'll create a package called controller. In this example, I am not using any database. I will return the hardcode list of object. So I will just create a package called DAO. Then anything else? I guess no. We created all the package. Now let me create one DTO, which is customer class. So I will add private int ID, private string name. So in this example, I just added one dependency, Lombok dependency, which I just added to save the time. I'll share this code link in video description. Now go to the customer class. We no need to write manually getter and setter method. I can use at the rate data annotation of Lombok. Then I want all argument constructor. I want no argument constructor. Now let's create one DAO class where we'll return list of customer object. Now go to this DAO package. I'll create a class called customer DAO. Then I'll simply annotate at the rate component. Then I'll write one method who will return me list of object. So I'll write public list of customer get customer, something like that. So for example, let's say we just want to return 50 customer object. So what I'll do, I'll just use int stream dot range closed 1 to 50. Okay, then I just want to map this 50 record to this customer object. Okay, so I'll do map to object new customer. I'll pass id as the index value I, then name as a customer I. Okay, then just return as a to list. Now when I will call this get customer method, I'll get 50 customer object. So let me format this. Fine, so just return it. Also I just want to print the process count. So what I'll do, I'll just use dot peak, then the lambda. Here I'll write sys out processing count, just add the I. Fine. So this method will return me the 50 customer object. Now what I'll do, I'll just do the get customers method call from my service class. So now let me write one service class. Let's say customer service. I'll annotate here at the rate service. Then here I just need to inject my DAO, private customer DAO. Just add annotation called auto add. Now I'll just call this method public, who will return me the list of customer, load all customers. I can directly return it from my DAO class, right? But I just want to print the execution time as well. So what I'll do, I'll just add system dot current time millisecond. Let's say long start value. Then I'll just copy, just do the method called DAO dot get customers. Okay, it will return us the list of customer object. So just add it. Then I will just add end time. Okay, then just return this customer. This is what first I am trying to explain you in our traditional way. Then we'll find the disadvantages and I will show you how it works in reactive programming. So what I'll do, I'll just print the time difference. Total execution time end minus start. Fine. Now let's write one controller class. So just go to controller package, create a new class. Let's say customer controller. Just annotate this at the rate rest controller. Then I just want to map the URL slash customers. Okay. Then just write one endpoint who will return us the list of customer object. Get all, something like that, or get all customers. Then I will just inject the service here, private customer service, just inject using auto add. Now call this return service dot load all customers. Okay, then just annotate at the rate get mapping. That's it. Now let's try to invoke this REST endpoint with slash customers. Then we'll see how it behaves. This is the traditional way usually you do, right? So let's go to the resource and let me change the server port. Server dot port equal to 9191. Fine. Now let's start our application. Go to the main class. Let's run this Spring Boot application. Yeah. So if you can see this, here the application started in this 4.8 second. Okay, and it's up on port 9191. Now let's go to the browser and type localhost 9191 slash customers. Okay, I guess we added one more URL. Fine. So you're getting all 50 record, right? ID is the index number and name is append with the index. So we are just getting 50 record, which is not a huge data. So I could not show any difference in our traditional approach and reactive programming. So what I will do, I will try to sleep my execution thread for 1 second. It will return one record, then it will sleep for 1 second, then again it will return one another record. If we have million of record or thousand of record, we can easily catch what is synchronous and blocking in this traditional approach. So to make it visible, I'm just going to sleep my thread for 1 second for each execution. So what I just need to do, just go to your DAO class. Now this DAO will act as a publisher and this browser will act as a subscriber. Okay. So let's go to the DAO. Then what I'll do, I'll just use dot pick. Then I'll just use thread dot sleep. Thread dot sleep for 1 second. So I'll just convert it to method reference, or else you can add it here itself. Better, let's convert it to the method reference. So I'll write a method private static void sleep execution. Okay, so I'll add the parameter here int I, then I'll write thread dot sleep 1000 second, sorry, 1 millisecond. This is the 1000 millisecond, it means it is 1 second. Okay, so I'll just use try catch. Now in my this method I can directly use the customer DAO dot sleep execution. Okay, so just add the proper naming convention. Fine. Now let's stop the application and let's rerun it. Okay, there is some error. DAO dot get customers. Okay, we just need to remove this. Now let's run it. So you can see our application is up, and also here it is not using embedded Tomcat, it is using Netty server. That's how it will work on the event loop in case of reactive programming. Now let's go to the browser and let me open a new tab. Just add it here. Now go to your console. If you observe, it is printing the processing count and we cannot see the any response. Still it is buffering to get the response. This is what called synchronous unblocking. Until it process 50 record, my consumer or my subscriber will not get the response in our traditional REST API approach. Still it is buffering. So once it reach the count to 50, we'll get the response because manually I sleep my thread for 1 second per each execution. So see the count is 36. We are not getting any response. Still it is buffering. Now it is 43, 44, 6. Still we don't have any response. Yeah. Now it reached to 50 and it took total execution time this. Now you can see the response here, right? So if you have million of record, you don't need to manually sleep your execution thread. Okay. So you'll find the actual clarity on what is synchronous unblocking. Now how we can avoid this using reactive programming? Now let's understand that part of code. So go to your DAO. So far you understand what is synchronous unblocking, I believe, because there is a processing count. Until it process all the record, we are not getting the response back. Now let's try to understand how we can avoid that using reactive programming. So let me stop this application. Now go to the controller. Let me copy this, then add it as a separate endpoint. Just change the method name, get all customers stream, something like that. So let's not use the additional slash, remove it. Here I will add the URL as stream. Okay, fine. Now if you remember, this reactor programming will work as a flux and mono as a data type, right? So list will be underlying data structure who will store the customer object. But in case of reactive programming, if you will use list, then there is no mean of reactive programming. We just need to change it to the flux because that will be my publisher. Now just go to the service and let's write another method. Let me copy this, paste it here, load all customers stream. Now let me add this method name in controller. So again it will accept flux, not here. And then if you'll go to DAO, here also I need to change the flux. Then same we need to change in our DAO class. So in DAO also I can copy this piece of code and then I'll add it. But if I'll do in such a way, then that is not a reactive programming. So what I need to do, instead of using this int stream.range, I'll directly use flux.range. Okay. So day by day we'll understand the syntax. It is bit complex as compared to our traditional way of designing code, but it's much more handy because the entire execution will be in single pipe. So let me write that flux dot range of 1 to 50. Okay, then we just need to map this count to customer object, right? So I'll copy this, just add it here. So we just need to use the map method, not map to object. Fine. Now also I just want to print this processing count, right? So just copy this, just add it here. The method name should be do on next. If you remember, we understand do on next method from subscriber, right? I guess in previous example we understand when it will execute. If you have 50 event, then it will execute 50 times. That's the reason I can able to see my print statement. Then what else? I just want to sleep my thread for 1 second, right? So what I'll do, I'll just use delay elements duration of second 1 second. That's it. So yeah, just change the method name to stream, and same method I just need to call from my service. This will be flux of string, not list of flux. Flux of string customer, what is the problem? Okay, my bad, this should be customer. Fine. Now we created, if you'll go to the controller, let's cross verify again. We created separate endpoint for stream API, means stream programming. So if you observe, we are using flux, and again if you go to DAO, rather than using this Java 8 syntax, we are using flux.range, and we are dealing the element for 1 second, and then we are doing the do on next call to print it. So I'll use processing count in stream flow. Then we are just creating the object and we are returning back to the subscriber, right? Now let's run our application to see the difference, how it works in reactive programming and how it works in our traditional way. So what I'll do, okay, let's remove this. Now let's run our application. Yeah, so if you observe, our application is up on port 9191. So I just want to do one small customization. Instead of waiting for 50 record, just reduce it to 10 so that we can save our time. This is just for testing purpose. Okay, now let me save this. Let's rerun our application. Yeah, it is up. Just go to the browser and let me copy this endpoint. This is what the traditional way we are trying, right? So it will wait for 10 seconds. If you observe here, the processing count 2 3 4 5, still we are not getting the response. Once it reaches to 10, now we have the response here, right? Then just verify the same in reactive way. This is what we added one new endpoint, right? So let me copy this URL, then try in another tab, stream. If you observe, it is doing the one after another, right? Then I didn't find any difference between the traditional way and reactive stream. So what is the advantages of using this reactive stream here? Only 4 millisecond and this is the millisecond. This is not the exact difference. So even we enable the reactive programming, still we are getting the result in a single flow. So what you just need to do, go to your controller class. In this reactive programming, we need to send the data as a event stream rather than sending as a entire object. So that's the reason we are not achieving the reactive programming way. So what we just need to do, we just need to enable the produces media type. So media type need to be import from org.springframework.http. Okay. Then we just need to use text event stream value because I just want to send my data to subscriber as a event stream. So just add it. Fine. Let's restart our application. Stop this and restart it. Yeah. So our application is up. Now let me clear this. Go to the browser and let's try to hit for the traditional way. I'll just add enter. This is the previous request data. So it is still processing to get all the record. Then it will display the actual result. Okay. Finally, we received it. Then if you observe in browser, you can see the response. Now let me try the same. So let me clear this. I'll try it for stream. Once I enter stream, if you see there is a count and immediately we are getting the response one after another. This is what the asynchronous and non-blocking. In reactive programming, my request is not wait to complete the 10 customer object. Once it completed one customer object, then there is a do on next call from the subscriber and my subscriber can receive it. So in this case, my browser is my subscriber and my database is my publisher. But here we just hard coded the value. In upcoming series, I'll show you using the MongoDB reactive database. Okay, so let's retry it again. It will be more visible for you. So let me minimize this. Yeah. So I'll just trigger it again. If you see the count, you are getting the response here immediately. It's not blocking anywhere. Fine. It completed 10 and we are getting the response back. This is what the advantages of using this reactive programming over our traditional approach. My publisher will keep pushing the event as a stream to my subscriber, and on each stream will be transferred through the do on next call. Now apart from that, if you observe, I just want to highlight one more thing in reactive programming. Let's say let me try the actual endpoint, not stream one. Let's try the traditional one. Now we just enter it. In middle as a subscriber, I don't want to get the response. If I'll stop it, still my backend is processing data. Where already subscribed, cancel the request. Okay, let me retry it again. In stream, if I'll cancel the request at 5th, then immediately, if you observe, after 5, there is no another request flow. That is what one advantages of using this reactive stream. Apart from asynchronous and non-blocking, when your subscriber cancel the request, immediately it stops the execution. The request will not go to my backend code. But in case of traditional approach, even though we subscriber cancel the request, still it execute in backend. So let me show you once again. This is the traditional way. In middle, I cancelled. But if you go and check in browser, still it is going on. Right? This is one more advantages of using this reactive programming. So far we understand what is reactive programming and hope this session will answer you why we need reactive programming and when to use reactive programming. Apart from that, we also understand the flow of reactive stream, and that is what we could see here. In each event will be transferred through the do on next call to my subscriber, and publisher will keep on pushing the data. That's all about this particular video, guys. Thanks for watching this video. Meet you soon with a new concept.